environments. And I think that's critical because it makes people, makes companies and other polluters want to abide by the laws, and not just be able to get away with something by quietly dumping into a canal at night or emitting toxins, etc. They know that the glare of public opinion can be brought very quickly on them with very harmful results, and I think that goes towards creating an attitude of voluntary compliance that's absolutely critical. It's, penalties and fines and laws are fine, an important component of it, but ultimately I think you want to have voluntary compliance. You want people to want to do the right thing, and the media and the lawyers are kind of the sharp end of that stick. The media being the sort of public awareness, public relations aspect. But when I was in China, and people would ask me, well, what would you do in this situation if this condition arose? And my answer was almost invariably, well, we take somebody to court. So I think here in Edinburgh, you probably understand a little bit better about the importance of the courts as a mechanism for enforcement and compliance than some of the other places I've worked. But I think you can't talk about environmental politics unless you're talking about the media and the court-ordered enforcement. So as a result of all these factors, many stakeholders, multiple layers of government, division of powers within the federal government, and now with global interaction on some of these issues. The result, I think, when you're talking about the development of environmental politics and policy in the U.S., is that it moves slowly. We're a large society, complex. It takes time to develop these shared viewpoints and consensus on how we would go forward. It takes time to develop those, but once you have that, we very much, I think, focus on getting practical results that are an effective balance of interests from the different stakeholders, and I think that gives us real continuity in our politics. On climate change specifically, I know that the Bush administration is not viewed particularly positively on this issue, but I would like to point out that we have been working on climate change since before the Bush administration, and they've continued a lot of policies set in place by earlier administrations with respect to science and technology that will make a big contribution, I think, to solving these issues, and that will continue on into the future. So there's a bipartisan consensus here on this issue, still being developed now. But I think the changes that come from one administration to another are somewhat exaggerated in many people's minds, and this main consensus that's developed and carried forward is what really counts. So we're looking for practical results. We have this bottom-up approach that has a lot of different components, and for that, because of that, I think you don't have the sort of the single kind of target or the clear statement of a goal, but many individual programs and projects going on, but they all condense together and make I think, a very effective and multi-pronged approach at solving the real problems of environment and climate change. It looks messy from the outside. Again, I think here in Scotland and in the UK and Western Europe, I think you understand the sort of the messiness of these kinds of discussions. In other places, it looked like chaos to somebody from from Asia, they would look at our politics and, what is going on over there? But this is the way that we build our politics. It's messy, it takes time, but when we have arrived at that kind of consensus, when an issue has arrived, and I think that the environment issue got to the U.S. 30, 40 years ago. Climate change is very much on everybody's mind at this point. You have everybody from the president on down focusing on it. You will see us heavily engaged on this issue. We're engaged on it now. We have been engaged on it for several years, and you can be sure that we will do our part to produce a workable global solution that will deal with this big problem. So let me stop there, and what I'd like to do is just hear your questions or comments, and so I will turn the floor over to you. Yes, ma'am, in the back, please.
I was just wondering, do you think the environment should be a security issue? And also, what do you think Al Gore be awarded the Peace Prize for his work on the environment?
So the two questions there. Is climate change should I look at it as a security issue, and what do I think about Al Gore winning the Nobel Prize? On the security issue, I think it's, climate change is such a broad issue that it practically, has impacts on any aspect of society that you can think of, and it is not difficult at all to think of security-related aspects of climate change. Such things as large-scale migrations of people moving away from an area that becomes uninhabitable for one reason or another. So yes, I think there are security aspects of it. On Al Gore winning the Peace Prize, he has been a strong advocate on climate change for many years, and I think he certainly deserves recognition for his work in bringing this issue to everyone's attention. And obviously, winning a Nobel Prize is an extraordinary honor, and I think he should be. Let's just say, if it were me, I would feel very good about myself. Yes, ma'am.
So where exactly do you fit into all of this sort of networking? I mean, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? What are your objectives and your various sort of postings throughout the world?
Okay. Some of this, first of all, I got to say that being a diplomat is a great job, and if any of you are thinking about joining the diplomatic service, I would strongly recommend it. I have really enjoyed it, just as kind of a human being. Boredom is going to be a major challenge for many of you in your working life, but in the Foreign Service and the Diplomatic Corps, we have a sort of variability and change built into our lives, and it's a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it, and would strongly recommend it. The short version of any diplomatic job, I would say, is to understand, to communicate, and to seek areas of cooperation. And in my case, I apply those goals to environment, climate change, pollution, natural resource protection, water resources, these types of things. I'm not doing a very good job of it right now, but in general, I think that the primary role of a diplomat is to listen rather than to talk. To understand what the situation is on the ground in a particular area, to interact with people in a country who are dealing with those issues. That information gets reported back to our home government. And in the particular situation of climate change, we think that the UK is kind of a global center for development of policy on climate change. So that's important for the United States. We want to know what's going on here, what people are thinking, what works, what doesn't work, and to the extent that I can help communicate that information back to folks in Washington to promote understanding between our two countries about what's going on. To me, that's what diplomacy is